to record. Yeah. So the material that we're going to cover today is in the FIP edition is chapter 12.2, The Way to Remember God. Before we read that new material, I wanted to do a quick review of a paragraph from the previous section. You don't have to turn there, but this will serve as a runway into the material the new material we're going to read today. David, if you're available, please help us.
I'd be happy to. Fear and love are the only emotions of which you are capable. One is false, for it was made out of denial. And denial depends on the belief in what is denied for its own existence. By interpreting fear correctly as a positive affirmation of the underlying belief it masks, you are undermining its perceived usefulness by rendering it useless. Defenses that do not work at all are automatically discarded. If you raise what fear conceals to clear-cut, unequivocal predominance, fear becomes meaningless. You have denied its power to conceal love, which was its only purpose. The veil that you have drawn across the face of love has disappeared.
Mm-hmm. So the reason why we read this is we want to get clear on what we're talking about here. Fear is intended to hide love, to veil it or mask it, to raise interference that defends against love. And therefore, denying fear is a way to access love. It's the proper use of denial. Fear is not real. I will not allow the fear to guide my life. That allows us to affirm the power of love in our life. So it's the denial of a lie. And we will encounter this in many different forms in the Course of Miracles, where there are erroneous or mistaken ways of viewing life. And we don't want our mind to drift into those fear-based, guilt-based modes of thinking. And therefore, we learn to deny the reality of those things so that then we can turn towards the truth and embrace it fully. That's going to come up in the beginning of our reading today, which is why we wanted to go over that. So fear is a denial of love, and a miracle worker learns to deny the denial of love. Okay, so having said that, we will be looking, we're going to look at the source of fear and learn it's not real. There's nothing there to be afraid of. False evidence appearing real. And with that, we'll go into the reading for today.
Miracles are merely the translation of denial into truth. If to love oneself is to heal oneself, those who are sick do not love themselves. Therefore, they are asking for the love that would heal them, but which they are denying to themselves. If they knew the truth about themselves, they could not be sick. The task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. The sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in them. Yet, having obscured it, The light in another mind must shine into theirs because that light is theirs.
So this illustrates how central to this practice the proper use of denial is. A miracle worker merely translates the denial of truth back into the truth. It avoids the mistakes of being confused by darkness, judgment, guilt, and fear. And so as a consequence, what we're about to say applies both to yourself and to everyone else. People who feel like they are sick are denying the presence of love in their life. They're mistaken. They're believing the glass is half empty rather than believing that the light is in them and is powerful, that the power of love within them has the ability to heal all things. And so people who, the idea of sickness is the affirmation of error, confusion, misunderstandings, etc. Miracles are the denial of that falsehood and the affirmation of truth. The task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. And think of this as a skill that one must learn. This is not taught not generally taught. People go through their entire adult life without acquiring this skill, without maybe ever even being suggested they acquire this skill. So we need to learn to deny that which is false. And that's why we need to look directly at the source of fear and see it exactly for what it is, so that when it arises and crosses over our awareness, immediately we recognize that that's not true. That's fear once again. And we step aside from it rather than being caught up in hours or days or years of fearful thinking that would rob us of our happiness. Susie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to share something that is really applies to this, and the task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. I mean, I'm thinking about that for myself, and I'm thinking about that, me going to with fear to other people in my life. But I have to say that, you know, I came to Heather in an extreme amount of fear about a personal situation, and she was the exact, Heather, I don't really want to put you on the spot and whatever, but this is just so applicable. I mean, she denied the denial of, she denied the fear in me. And I fought her and kept saying different things. And she told me to come to A Course in Miracles. And that was the only thing that I needed. And there was some power in her that I believed her. And I came, and am not enlightened, but I'm on my way. And I've been healed of a tremendous amount of fear that I went to her with. And I have tears in my eyes, because it makes me feel that that is my function as well.
Yes.
And it's unbelievable And I don't know. I just had to share that because I'm really kind of dumbfounded. You know, I've read this before
Mhm.
a few times, and it just didn't come up for me this way, like this.
Right.
And you know, and then, you know, I did have the sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in me, but yet she led me and refused to, you know, dance with my fear.
Yes.
So, you know, I just had to share that for everybody because it's applicable. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Susie said that after those experiences you just shared, she feels as though it's her function as well. And this will become the reinterpretation of our relationships. Our function is to see other people as whole and healed and as mirrors of light, and to deny their fear. So that is what we'll call the intermediate or advanced stages of Course in Miracles. As we learn to heal ourselves and then reinforce that by helping others to heal. We become witnesses for them. Kim?
Thank you, Jonica, and thank you for the FEAR acronym reminder. I love acronyms, so I have another acronym for FEAR that seems to be applicable to A Course in Miracles, and here it is. Face everything and rise. Thank you.
I love it. And rise. Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to go on here. Thank you, Kim.
The light in them shines as brightly, regardless of the density of the fog that obscures it. If you give no power to the fog to obscure the light, it has none. For it has power only if the Son of God gives power to it. He must himself withdraw that power, remembering that all power is of God. You can remember this for all the sonship. Do not allow your brother not to remember, for his forgetfulness is yours, but your remembering is his, for God cannot be remembered alone. This is what you have forgotten. To perceive the healing of your brother as the healing of yourself is thus the way to remember God. For you forgot your brothers with him, and God's answer to your forgetting is but the way to remember.
One of the most powerful lessons in A Course in Miracles is that, one, God has all power. That's pretty easy to accept, but that he gave power to his creation to use for good, to create love. So we were given the power of God to use. And that power can be misused or used properly. And few of us understood this before, and therefore, not knowing we had this power and not knowing that it could be misused, we fell into poor habits of using our power. And now we're waking up to realize that this gift from God is significant and that we need to be aware of it and learn to use it only for good, only for truth, for healing, and for love. And so if you give no power to the fog, the fog doesn't have power, but you can give your power to the fog. And so we must learn that these errors occur. And part of that is learning to distinguish the fog from the light. So one of the chief teachings of the Holy Spirit is to work with you personally in your mind to discern that which is true from that which is false, so that you can then not be confused between truth and error. Noel?
The first line reminds me, regardless of the density of the fog, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. And I want to apply it not only to them, but to myself.
Yes, the power of God finds no difficulty in how thick the fog is in clearing it from our mind. That's nothing. The fog has no power, and therefore dense fog or thin fog makes no difference. What we need to do is recognize what fog is and what light is, and then say no to the fog and make room for the light in our mind.
One other thing occurs to me. Fog, we cannot hold it. We cannot mold it. We just go through it.
Right, go through it. Beautiful. Thank you, Noah. And reinforcing that line that Susie shared earlier, after having received from healing, she said, it feels like now it's my function as well to help others in this way. So here's a beautiful way of saying that: to perceive the healing of your brothers, to see the light in another person, even if they can't see it in themselves. To see the light in another person is the healing of yourself. This is the way we heal. This is said in the lessons of the Holy Spirit. To have peace yourself, you must teach peace so that you can learn it. You must see it in the world and live in accordance with its laws. So, one of the powerful implications is that there is light in everyone's mind. And the miracle worker's role is to acknowledge that light, to believe in it, to recognize the power of light to heal, even when the outward manifestations may obscure that light, but to still hold to the eternal truth that light is in every mind.
Perceive in sickness but another call for love, and offer your brother what he believes he cannot offer himself. Whatever the sickness, there is but one remedy. You will be made whole as you make whole. For to perceive in sickness the appeal for health is to recognize in hatred the call for love. And to give a brother what he really wants is to offer it unto yourself. For your Father wills you to know your brother as yourself. Answer his call for love, and yours is answered. Healing is the love of Christ for his Father and for himself.
I realize there's a fundamental definition within A Course in Miracles that we should reinforce here, which is, what is sickness? Sickness in A Course in Miracles is the mistaken belief that love has abandoned you, and that it's a deep sense of loss of not being loved. That belief is mistaken, but if you believe it to be true, you will feel that it's your reality and be overwhelmed by that false belief. That's what we call a sick mind. And the beauty about it is it can be corrected by truth. This entire program is in sweeping out of your mind all of those sick beliefs that you are not loved, that you've been abandoned by love, sweeping that out of your mind. And then naturally, the inner light within your mind will emerge once again, and you will recall that only love is real and that we are whole, eternal beings of light. David?
You know, thank you for that. This is so meaningful. This is why we say, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. This whole concept of sickness and health, that we get confused as human beings, that, oh, that person's sick, their body is sick, this is sick. And just with the way you said that, sickness is just another call for love and about healing the mind. That's all this course is about, in my opinion, is healing the mind. It has nothing to do with this body that we're running around in on earth, except that body is a tool for the mind, the one mind, to use to spread light to the other minds. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what David was referring to in A Course in Miracles is also sometimes couched in terms of level confusion, of confusing the level of the spirit with the level of the mind, with the level of the body, and getting very confused about all that. This program will replace level confusion with level clarity and understanding, so that we understand the laws of the mind govern the mind, not the body and not the spirit. And so that goes a little deeper than we're going to touch on right now, but it's just a reminder of those of you that have been gone over that material before. Noel?
Would you speak to lesson 136? Sickness is a defense against the truth, and how it relates to these words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Noel, because that one I can't speak to. So sickness is a set of beliefs. Let's say I walk around believing, for whatever reason, I'll never amount to anything. Let's say somewhere I heard that, and I repeat that, and I have emotionally identified with that belief. Sickness, that's a sick belief. I'll never amount to anything. Then that belief keeps the truth from my mind. It acts as a barrier. We call it in Course a block or an obstacle to truth. And so when we remove the obstacle, there's no longer any interference, any obstructions between the beliefs that we have and the truth itself. So, therefore, we need to learn to distinguish those beliefs that are not true, so we can selectively prune them from our minds. Those of you who were here last week, we're going to pluck the sick beliefs from our minds, and then all that will remain is that which is in accord with the Holy Spirit and with truth.
So also with physical sickness, the defense is that I am a body, correct?
Yes, yes. And then, right, that error then can be projected on the physical level as well. But for the moment, let's not confuse the levels and just realize that sickness begins with, as it said here, It's the belief that love has abandoned you. It's a false belief. Sandra?
Yes, I can totally relate to this because one of the lies that I tell myself is that there's something wrong with me and that I am not worthy of being loved. Hence, when you hear me say self-care and self-love has been my path, because this book has so helped me to heal that lie, because it just tells me there is no love but God's. I'm thinking that, you know, these human relationships which haven't worked out, that if I don't have these human relationships, then there's something wrong. And the thing is, there's only one relationship that's really important for me, and that's my relationship with God and my relationship with myself. And other relationships come and go, and I don't have to take them so personally. And just keeping that alignment with my creator and with myself is very healing, very healing. I don't think I would be here if I didn't have this book and have this to hold on to. I'm complete.
Wow. Powerful testimony, Sandra. Thank you. Susie?
I just have another very applicable thing to this. I'll be really quick, but it's just mind blowing, really. When we were away, I had a small procedure done, and we were supposed to come back yesterday. And I kept saying to David, you know, I don't think I can fly. I don't think I can come back on Friday. And he kept saying, whatever, you know, you'll be okay. And then I realized, I started to pray, and I totally it's mind-blowing, John. I totally understand. I was in complete level confusion. I know we're not getting into this yet, but my mind was telling me that I was unable. No, I thought my body was in charge. I thought I was letting my body make the decision, you know, for me. And then I had this bout of clarity that said, oh my God, the cause is in my mind. The effects are that I can't go. As there's no causation outside of my mind, there just isn't. As soon as I was able to get clear that the fear was coming from my ego and my body identity, I was able to just, like my poofer, like Heather said, I'm like, oh my God, I am fine. Sickness is a defense against the truth. I'm fine. I can go. And it just went away. It was incredible. That's why my voice is so animated, because I got on the plane. I was 100% fine. It was all in my mind. Like everything else is heal my mind and the body will follow. And it was, here I am. I'm fine. All those fears were unfounded and I'm fine. So I just, you know, I was so defended and set in my ego was in my position. And after I denied the fear, I was fine. So I really needed to just share that with you guys.
Thank you, Susie. You know, as Susie illustrated, that one of the 50 principles of miracles at the beginning, the first page of the textbook, is that all conflict stems from level confusion. And her story really illustrates right there. There was all this going on in her mind, but it was because of confusion of the levels. And so therefore, if we're to be free of conflict, we must attain level clarity. Bigger lesson than what we're going to do today, but it is a continual learning to acquire clarity regarding the levels. Oh, David?
Remember what was said about the frightening perceptions of little children, which terrify them because they do not understand them. If they ask for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. But if they hide their nightmares, they will keep them. It is easy to help an uncertain child, for he recognizes that he does not understand what his perceptions mean. Yet you believe that you do understand yours. Little child, you are hiding your head under the cover of the heavy blankets you have laid upon yourself. You are hiding your nightmares in the darkness of your own false certainty and refusing to open your eyes and look at them.
So, who is the little child in this passage? Well, we are, based on the idea, as long as you can recognize this, a set of frightening perceptions which terrify you because you do not understand them. And therefore, the solution is to understand that these are but a set of ideas, frightening perceptions, which we've amplified using the power of our mind, but which should not be amplified if we're to be at peace. And so the key here is to understand where these fears come from. The way to remember God is to avoid falling into the ditch of fear again and again and again by understanding that there's no reason for you to embrace those ideas. And the most humbling lesson of all is right here. You do not believe that you don't understand. I'm sorry. Yet you believe that you do understand. Reverse that. You believe the memories from your past give you a false sense of certainty that leads you to think you already got it. You've already understand, and therefore don't need to learn anything new. That is a defense mechanism, a false sense of certainty that what the past has taught you is adequate for you to move forward. And the humility involved here is simply to say, I do not understand, but I'm willing to have the Holy Spirit teach me. And this is why lesson 1 of the workbook, I don't understand anything I see in this room, begins right there with questioning this false certainty, this false confidence, which in the extreme becomes arrogance. I know what the truth is already, arrogant. The relinquishment of that defense mechanism is essential for us to allow the Holy Spirit to be our guide and teach us. So the metaphor of being a little child is wholly appropriate here. A willingness to let go of errors and be guided and taught by the divine teacher of the Holy Spirit. Noel?
I'm very proud of my intellect, and I go to it, and it's always a challenge that I like to understand. I think we've talked about this before, and for me right now, the heavy blanket is my intellectual understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that I want to open my heart really and feel and throw off that blanket and not be so proud of it. So to bring in the true understanding.
Yes, I'm really glad you said that at the end. So we will learn. Noelle talked about her intellectual understanding. We will learn to distinguish that between understanding that comes from the Holy Spirit and ultimately, if it doesn't come from the Holy Spirit, it's not true. And therefore, that entire body of intellectual understanding, think of it as a stepping stone that got you here, but that largely represents beliefs of the past that can no longer carry us forward. So we're not against education and using your mind and all the learning that got you here, but we can't go forward with it. And our way forward into peace and level clarity is to be guided by the Holy Spirit and adopt her understanding as our own. Sandra?
This goes so well with the lesson, Father, I will but to remember you, because my will determines my perception. So if I'm perceiving that somehow I'm unworthy or there's something wrong with me or I'm not lovable, or those are lies. Those are lies I tell myself. And first I have to be aware of those lies and then make the correction. It's all will. I have to, I'll just keep making that correction over and over and over again until I finally shift.
Yes.
I'm complete.
Thank you. Susie?
Yeah, I don't usually do this, but I just really wanted to quickly, tell Noelle how much I appreciate that and her vulnerability. And, that is just a really, to me, so honest and so problematic for so many people that start the course. And I appreciate you, Noelle, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. That's all.
Thank you, Susie. You brought tears to my eyes. Thank you. Thank you.
But you
Thank
kind of brought tears to mine too. So we have no private thoughts.
Beautiful.
And you both brought tears to my eyes.
I figured that, David, but I wasn't right for me to speak on your behalf.
Thank you. Felicia?
Okay, well, I can give you a right opposite on that one. As far as my thinking was where I was, the way that I was thinking when I first started the course, because unlike Noelle, I was right the opposite, thinking that I didn't have the proper intellect to grasp the teaching of the course. And that's really where I was, because intellectually I felt lacking. And I quickly was shown that it really has nothing to do with intellect. In other words, for me, I could see where intellect could have gotten in my way, thinking that, well, I know this or I know that, when it's really a surrendering and accepting. And so therefore, I went in like with open arms. I'm willing, I'm open. Please teach me, because I don't know, and so I just kind of wanted to share that, because of what Noelle shared, because I was right the opposite. I didn't have my intellect to depend on. And I was, I had this thought in my mind, I carried around for years. Some of you may have heard it before, but it was like, it's better to remain quiet and appear to be stupid than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And I mean, I'm not stupid by no means, but that's just kind of my mindset was like, I don't understand. I don't know. And, but, you know, so it's like with the course, I come in with a clean slate, teach me, you know? So anyway, that's all I got. Thanks.
Alicia, that was so beautiful. And so illustrated how we can go either direction and lose our way. So thank you for that. Thank you for that balanced perspective there. Wow, you guys are amazing. So Christine and Jennifer, this is why we get together in groups, because people share things that you just wouldn't otherwise hear. And I'm not saying it always touches you, but if it moves your soul at all, well, that really makes a difference. Let's go on.
Let us not save nightmares, for they are not fitting offerings for Christ, and so they are not fit gifts for you. Take off the covers and look what you are afraid of. Look at what you are afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you, for the reality of nothingness cannot be frightening. Let us not delay this, for your dream of hatred will not leave you without help, and help is here. Learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil, for quietness is the end of strife, and this is the journey to peace. Look straight at every image that rises to delay you, for the goal is inevitable because it is eternal. The goal of love is but your right, and it belongs to you despite your dreams.
Mm-hmm. So this really gets to the heart and core of the lesson that we're reading about today, this material here. And as when fear arises in your mind, what do we do? And there are a number of ways of thinking about that. One is to run and fright and try to put as much distance between yourself and the fear as possible. But that doesn't work because the fear follows along with you. It's in your mind, so you can't run away from it. Another is to dance with it. This is a metaphor, to engage it completely, to kind of go swim in it and be overwhelmed by it. And that seems to make it real to you. And now you're really afraid of that fear. So that doesn't help. What the Course tells us is there's a third alternative. And this has to be learned. And that is we turn, and we might have had our back to the fear. We turn and look at it directly, to see it for what it is, to honor the power that God has given us, the power of love to heal all sickness. And look, and with the awareness of that power, look at the fear directly and realize this is a set of, oftentimes, is a set of factors that have not happened yet, that are in the future, and I'm imagining they will happen. And or they are, in contrast, a set of factors in the past, and I'm reliving them again, and re-traumatizing myself with past fears. So we look at them in a full awareness of the power of love to heal, and see that the fear itself has no power. So Here's your lesson for the week. Learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil. Easy to say, but most of us have not been practicing that, and therefore we're beginners. We have to learn to be quiet, to not panic, to not run, to not swim in the fear, but to calmly turn at it and look straight at what we believe the fear to be and realize that it is only a product of our misguided and misunderstanding mind, that it has no power in itself. Let me be a little bold here and go out on a limb and make a statement. My view is that in order to progress in this course, you must learn to deal with fear, to see it for what it is and disempower it. Because if you fail to learn to disempower fear and you keep giving the power of your mind to the belief of fear, then it will continue to chase you and you can't find peace in that conflicted state. So we must learn that fear has no power. And one of the tools in that is to be in the midst of turmoil. What do? I need to regather a sense of the truth of myself, of how I was created by the Creator, and that power, that fear has no power over me. Learn to be quiet and look straight at the fear and dismiss it. It's my belief that this is essential in order to find inner peace. And I'm really not going out on a limb on this. I know for a fact this is true. We must, in order to acquire inner peace, we must become free of our own self-made fears. Felicia?
Yeah, I was going to comment on that sentence that you just read, because that was what really came up for me. Because not to go into any detail because that doesn't matter, but I will never forget the first time that I felt peace in the midst of turmoil. Was like a strange feeling for me. You know, it was like, wow, why is this not bothering me? You know, why am I just so relaxed here? Kind of, you know, after the fact, after it was the situation was over. But for me, I mean, the word learn, it's more of surrender. It's a surrender. I go in, ask the Holy Spirit, or like know that I'm not alone, you know that I'm a child of God and all is well. And it's like a connection, you know, because a couple of weeks ago I had these injections in my back, and I was supposed to be able to have the twinkle twinkle stuff to help me relax. Because I had it done before, and it's really very painful. And I went in to have it done again, only different medicine this time. Whatever, this is all body stuff, but it's neither here nor there. But the experience is what I'm going to share. And because of something else, they're like, no, we can't give you that medicine because it could be dangerous for you, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going home, so I want to do it. I'll just do it with a local. And immediately my mind went to, oh my God, this is going to hurt so bad. Oh my God, I got to be still. I've got to lay there for at least 5 minutes in severe pain. And she said, it's going to be about 20 minutes before we take you back. And I said, okay. And I just kind of leaned back on the bed and went within. You know, I quieted my mind. It was very noisy in there. People were walking by, but it was like I connected with the Holy Spirit. I know when I use the term go within, it seems odd because you don't go within your body because it's the body, but it's like you make a connection with your spirit. And this peace just came over me. The quietness came over me, and it lasted through the whole thing, and I was just completely relaxed. And if it was painful, I don't really remember the pain. And I'm thinking, wow, this is how people do it. But it's like it is a quietness and making that connection with the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. You know? And I've learned to do that. Thanks. That's it.
Alicia, it's so good to have you here, have you back. Your voice adding to the group awareness really means so much. Thank you. Okay. Go on.
You still want what God wills, and no nightmare can defeat a child of God in his purpose. For your purpose was given you by God, and you must accomplish it because it is his will. Awake and remember your purpose, for it is your will to do so. What has been accomplished for you must be yours. Do not let your hatred stand in the way of love, for nothing can withstand the love of Christ for his Father or his Father's love for him. A little while and you will see me, for I am not hidden because you are hiding. I will awaken you as surely as I awaken myself, for I awoke for you. In my resurrection is your release. Our mission is to escape from crucifixion, not from redemption. Trust in my help, for I did not walk alone, and I will walk with you as our Father walked with me. Do you not know that I walked with him in peace? And does not that mean that peace goes with us on the journey?
When Felicia was just sharing, she said, the way I these things are experiences. It's not so, she doesn't see it so much in terms of learning to understand as having an experience where you realize you're not walking alone, where you're on a journey, but it's not like before where you thought you were on your own with what we call ego autonomy, ego by itself, ego in charge. Now it's a new experience. We think of it as a shared experience, as a relationship in which we are not alone, and that new experience is the basis for all transformation. And so this is the vision that we each can have for ourselves. It's a vision of experiencing moments, whether they be in turmoil or just little frictions, but we don't experience it the way we did before when we were running from fear or swimming in fear. We experience it in a new way now as being calm in the midst of turmoil, not alone, recognizing the power of God within us and trusting in that power to overcome all belief systems the ego might throw at us. Susie?
Yeah, that's why I love the lessons, and I love that it's truly an experiential course. Like, I can read the text and understand it, but I've needed to start to have those experiences. And as I think Felicia shared, it's a little jarring in the beginning when for me, when I was so used to fear as my friend, not my friend, my company, to not be in fear over something that I would be in fear about before, and say, oh, wow, who's here? Because this is unfamiliar. But then I became, as you would use, I started falling in love with that feeling of not being in fear over things that always brought me fear, and then realizing again, this is just so much in my mind. And now when I am coming up to something that in this world might be challenging, truly, I know, like the manual for teachers said, I have gained the trust now because I've experienced I've experienced the Holy Spirit helping me, just like getting on the plane. I know I can heal my mind and face a situation that I had no tools before to face. Oh, I won't say no tools, but not the tools that the course has offered me. So I believe now that that the Holy Spirit is there to help me if I am willing. I have to be willing and take 100% responsibility for what is going on in my mind. But it is a relief for me to truly know that the Holy Spirit is there, because I lived for so long without the Holy Spirit being there. So yeah, I just wanted to share that I really started receiving so much experience from doing the lessons over and over and over again. I'm complete.
Thank you. A journey in trust. We are all on a journey in trust together. David?
There is no fear in perfect love. We will but be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. You do not fear the unknown, but the known. You will not fail in your mission because I did not fail in mine. Give me but a little trust in the name of the complete trust I have in you, and we will easily accomplish the goal of perfection together. For perfection is and cannot be denied. To deny the denial of perfection is not so difficult as to deny truth. And what we can accomplish together will be believed when you see it as accomplished.
Well, here we have a very powerful set of ideas. So let's lay it out here. You've probably already been subjected to what we'll call the denial of perfection. You've heard all kinds of messages in your life that would deny perfection. So we don't have to go over that again. What we have now to that is the opposite message, which has to do with your eternal perfection. And that can only be attained because you were created by the perfect one in the likeness of the Creator. And so perfection was given to you as a gift. Then we get born into time and lose track of all that and acquire other teachings that are the denial of our perfection. And so one of the lines that if you're taking notes, this is a beautiful one here. What are we doing here? We will be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. It's write it down and think about it later. We will be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. That's the Course of Miracles. And to do that, we have to lay to rest this false teaching about the denial of your perfection, which is really to deny your source, your creator, your immortality, your innocence, your loveliness. And so that we can sweep away real quickly and come back to the affirmation of the truth. We share, it says here, we will easily accomplish the goal of perfection together. So it's a beautiful teaching. I want to go down one level deeper here. So those of you that follow along will realize perfection is easy to understand in eternity. When I say the Creator in eternity brings forth out of his being us, brings us forth perfectly, I think that makes perfect sense logically. Perfection begets perfection. What becomes confusing is when we're in a situation of time and space, a situation of this world in confusion and misunderstanding. It then becomes difficult to honor and recognize the goal of perfection when we're surrounded by what appears to be anything but perfection. And so we have this paradox, is believing by faith and trusting in eternal perfection, and yet in time, it seems as though we are on a journey from the imperfect and eventually getting to the perfect. That's the way it seems to be in time. We're not saying that that's the truth, but that's the way it appears. And so this course is a process of removing all imperfect ideas, all imperfect self-concepts, and all imperfect relationship concepts, removing all that clutter, all that stuff from our thinking, so that what is already perfect in us comes shining through once again. It's merely the restoration of what already is. Perfection is. It cannot be denied. It has that which the Creator creates perfectly can never change. It will always be perfect. We're talking on the spiritual level now. The spiritual light, which is your being, will always be perfect. But the mind, a different level now, the mind which tries to understand and interpret these things, that's where we will be making it perfectly clear to you by removing the denial of perfection. So, and the Holy Spirit is the perfect teacher for that. Everything we just said, she's a master of that process. While we may not understand it, we can trust Holy Spirit understands it fully. and will gently guide our steps along the way from a seeming imperfection until the point where it becomes perfectly clear to each of us. David?
You who have tried to banish love have not succeeded, but you who choose to banish fear must succeed. The Lord is with you, but you know it not. Yet your Redeemer liveth and abideth in you in the peace out of which he was created. Would you not exchange this awareness for the awareness of fear? When we have overcome fear, not by hiding it, not by minimizing it, and not by denying its full import in any way, this is what you will really see. You cannot lay aside the obstacles to real vision without looking upon them. For to lay aside means to judge against. If you will look, the Holy Spirit will judge, and he will judge truly. Yet he cannot shine away what you keep hidden, for you have not offered it to him, and he cannot take it from you.
I just realized this is, in this paragraph, is really perhaps the core of the message of what we're reading today. So let's spend a moment on it. These fears are often hidden in the subconscious domains of our mind. They aren't pleasant to entertain, and so they get repressed into the shadows and the corners of our psyche, where we consciously forget about them, but subconsciously they continue to motivate our story and our self-concept and confuse us. And as long as the ego wants to keep those fears hidden. The goal of the Holy Spirit is to shine them away when we are ready to offer those fears to the Holy Spirit. When we're ready to offer them to the Holy Spirit, then they'll be brought out into the light and dispensed. How does that happen? How does this process of taking that which was hidden, bringing it into the light and dispelling it? Well, Holy Spirit to the rescue. It turns out that from the Holy Spirit's mind, all your fears mean nothing. They're like children's fables. They are just stories that the Holy Spirit doesn't believe in. She's already looked upon them and seen them as false already. And so she has judged them as not true. And this program is one of sharing that judgment with her. You don't need to make the judgment. She already has. You just adopt the Holy Spirit's judgment of what is true and what is false. What could be easier? In fact, when you're going through elementary school, that's what you were doing all along. The teacher would tell you this 12 times 12 is 144, and you believed it. You just adopted the instructor's point of view as true. And so now we're adopting the Holy Spirit's point of view as true. So it's a process that occurs within, and as Felicia pointed out, it's not within your body, it's not inside your skin, it's within your awareness. It's a process of allowing yourself to be taught by the Holy Spirit and of relinquishing the beliefs that the false sense of certainty that you've already got this under control. Relinquishing that. So it's learning to lay aside the obstacles and ultimately adopting the Holy Spirit's judgment as your own. And that judgment, by the way, is not judgment in a negative sense. This is judgment in love and kindness and in truth. It's a judgment of that which is true. It's a correct assessment of where the light and love comes from. And we adopt that once again as our own. David?
We are therefore embarking on an organized, well-structured, and carefully planned program aimed at learning how to offer to the Holy Spirit everything you do not want. He knows what to do with it. You do not understand how to use what he knows. Whatever is given him that is not of God is gone. Yet you must look at it yourself in perfect willingness, for otherwise his knowledge remains useless to you. Surely he will not fail to help you, since help is his only purpose. Do you not have greater reason for fearing the world as you perceive it than for looking at the cause of fear and letting it go forever?
So in the 1970s and 80s, there was a popular movement, particularly in the West, called shadow work. Looking at your own shadow. This would be a Carl Jungian concept of a psyche, part of your psyche that lingers in the dark, and where chaos and confusion and misunderstanding learns, and coming to grips with your shadow work. Well, A Course in Miracles has its own interpretation of that experience. It's a part, as it says here, of an organized, well-structured, careful program that the Holy Spirit is guiding. Very essential difference here, not being guided by human psychologists, but by the Holy Spirit. And the part aspect of that program is all the garbage. Can I use the word the garbage in our minds? Is that fair? All the false messages, all the false scripts, judgments, and guilt, all that garbage, giving that to the Holy Spirit. Rather than processing it yourself, analyzing it, retelling the story, reviewing it all by yourself again and again, trying to figure out where the truth is by yourself. We're not talking about doing that. We are talking about recognizing there's that grievance of mine and immediately turning to offer to the Holy Spirit everything you do not want. She wants your ideas of guilt, of deep sense of loss of love, your faulty self-concepts, your faulty relationships concepts. Don't try to analyze or figure it out further on your own. Give it to the Holy Spirit, because she has a gift for you, but you can only receive the gift if you're willing to exchange what you've been holding on to for so long and give that to her, and that makes room for you to receive her gift, which will be a new understanding, a new experience, which is now guided by her healing love. And okay, Kim, you had your hand up.
I'm so excited that you said shadows, Jonica, because I've had this profound awareness and the Course talks about this, that when that the ego will send shadows. The ego will send shadows to distract. And so I've become so aware of fear can be those shadows. And so the Course says that really all that we need is peace and willingness, and the Holy Spirit will do the rest. And so I'm just so excited that you said shadows, and I just wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kim. Yeah. More of that to come in a moment. Susie?
Yeah, one of the prayers that I have said throughout all the the years that really helps me is, Holy Spirit, is there anything else I need to understand about whatever situation that I'm in a lot of fear about? Is there any, please help. Is there any more clarity that,
Mhm.
And then I get some thoughts sometimes that are really healing and helpful. And I just directly ask, like, is there something I don't, what is it? Is there anything else? And sometimes there's not. And it's just letting go of these hidden things, which I know we talk about a lot. I had so many hidden secrets, but sometimes I do get some clarity, or I do get an answer, I do get a thought in my mind. And I know it comes from that prayer. So I just wanted to share that because that's been really helpful for me. What is it? And also, everybody, it's Kim's birthday today. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Kim. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Susie.
Happy birthday. Noelle?
I'm reminded, especially in relation to line 5, yet you must look at it, that is, whatever the fear is, yourself in perfect willingness. I know you've talked about this before, but my tendency is, oh, gee, I should be more spiritual than this. I should avoid this. I should cover it over with affirmations, rather than look at it, maybe experience it fully for a moment, and then deny it, and then replace it with my asking, my request to the Holy Spirit to take it and correct my mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we will be going over that process more in detail for sure, because this is a well-organized and carefully structured plan for helping us heal in those areas. David?
Yes, I really appreciate what Noelle just said, because I have been a utilizer of spiritual bypass procedures for a long time, in which I thought that I was being quiet in the midst of turmoil. But all I was really doing was not resolving the turmoil, but trying to stay, quote, above the fray. And what the Course in Miracles is teaching me is that that's not where the answer lies. There is no answer in being above the fray. The answer is in relieving the fray. The answer is in there being no fray. And it's a completely different way of approaching the same set of circumstances. And I love the fact that she talks a lot about 135 and 136, which are great lessons. And Susie talks a lot about it's important to do the lessons. And it's not, what's so important is not to read the lessons, but to do the lessons, which means taking the lessons into my daily experience and actually making them a part of my thinking. And I have to say that this has been something that has taken years in this course for me to really start to inculcate and to allow it to truly influence who I am and how I relate to my brothers and how I relate to the spiritual aspects of life and how I free myself from the bondage of fear and of just falseness. It's a very uplifting thing. We're talking about not crucifixion, but redemption and resurrection and rising from the dead, rising from the fear to have a life of peace and love. And so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, David. Sandra?
Yes, I call that process for me, it's called letting it pass through, letting the emotions pass through. Because if I'm not willing to feel those emotions, I can't heal them. I can't go deep with them. But if I can feel them and just allow them in, know that there's nothing wrong here. It's just a feeling. And I hold on to the truth of who I am and who you are. I can just let those feelings pass through. And that part of that is the willingness to be in the unknown without fear. I'm complete.
Thank you. So that's as far as we're going to read today. More to follow. Just recall the last line there is, so what's ahead here? We will be looking at the source of fear. And I think it was Jennifer said that the course has to find you, and when you're ready to look at the source of fear. This is not something that everybody is happily would welcome at any given point in their life. We're going to be looking at the source of fear and learning it's not real and learning to dispel its effects merely by denying their reality. And that is not something we can teach ourselves. We do not understand how to do that. Humanity's been confronted with this issue for millennia of time. We need a holy teacher that fully understands not only what we're going through right now, but also where we are headed in our destiny. And she can craft this well-organized program for us so that we can easily dispel the belief in these fears and move out of the shadows and into the light. So we will be doing that increasingly. As David said, we'll be learning to apply workbook lessons to our daily life, for this is a practical course in application. We are studying the text where we begin to make perfectly clear what is already perfect within us. But the workbook lessons, which is your task, is to then apply those lessons to your daily life so that you have the new experiences that we've been referring to. It's a marvelous journey, and we are made stronger by being in this together. Noel?
Just a footnote to what David was saying before. In paragraph 9, sentence 5, when we have overcome fear, not by hiding it, not by minimizing it, and not by denying its full import in any way, this is what you will really see. Sandra too mentioned. So that's very direct instructions for feeling it. And as you said, Sandra, let it pass through.
Yes, great. All right, well, thank you all for sharing. This was really rich. Christine, Jennifer, I hope this was helpful. Most people will say it's a lot to digest. There's no doubt about that. So you take it at whatever pace works for you. We will be having additional sessions tomorrow and Monday. And then next Saturday will be further on in chapter 12. We'll look forward to reconnecting with everybody once again there. I thank you and say namaste to your soul.
Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Love you
everybody.
all.
Thank you, mighty companions.
We'll
Thank
see you
everyone.
tomorrow night. Hate to go.
Thank Kim.
You, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Jonathan.
Love you all.
It's like a
Thank you all.
love
Have a nice
fest. It's a
weekend.
love fest. Bye.
Bye.